Hi, welcome back. Now this is an interesting one. What I've started to do with this channel is to try and build a reasonably big kit, like a 32nd scale or maybe a 24th if they're available, and then do like a smaller kit in between, not like a 48 scale. So this is a 48 scale model, but this isn't a smaller kit. Trust me, this is the most complicated, deep build I have ever seen in a model. I haven't built every kit. I've only built so many kits, but I would consider myself reasonably experienced now. But this thing is kind of overwhelming when you look at it. As kits go, I defy anybody to find them better than this. I'm sure they're out there, and somebody correct me if you want, but this is amazing. It really is. I mean, it's not an expensive kit for what you get. It's 80 quid, I think, something like that. I don't know what that is in dollars, but it's not over the top money wise when you consider the price of some other manufacturers charging similar money for nothing like what you get here. This is the manual. This is, I mean, look at it. It's just it never ends. I mean, some of it, because you can build this kit in multiple configurations. You can build it as a parked up aeroplane. Why you'd do that, I don't know, because you're losing a lot of the what this particular version of aircraft is, because this is the B model, which is the one that hovers basically. So you can have the nozzle partly down, so you can have it a parked version. You can have it as a short takeoff, which obviously it's a bit like the Harrier used to do it, you jump off a ramp and what have you, and then you can have it vertical landing, which is the one I'm going to do, because you can then, it comes with a stand and you can mount it on a stand so it's hovering in flight, and you can have everything on it open, the whole shooting match, because most of the detail in this model is on the open covers, because when it's all buttoned up you don't see much, because it's a stealth aircraft at the end of the day. So what you do, you build part of it, so this is where you start your stages, build all this little stuff here. It looks simple, it isn't simple, is it? Because there's an awful lot of painting and picking out of detail in between all these stages, and you build that part of the model, or lots of it. This is a weapons bay, incredibly complicated. I'll show you the parts in a minute. All this stuff, it's going to take forever to get it to this point. And then you decide which configuration you want to build. Now that's the parked one, which I'm not going to do. And then you add the parts and configure the parts accordingly for that configuration. It's a bit like a folded wing one on Tamiya kits. You get, like on the Corsair, you have a folded and unfolded version that has different parts. And then it goes up to the parts. And then you have a short takeoff configuration. And then you have the vertical landing configuration, and that's the one I'm going to do. So you can kind of eradicate, I don't know how we get into quite a bit of it. So that bit, it's relevant because there are parts in there that's shared across all three of them, but basically some of that you don't need. So the instructions are considerably thinner once you take those away. So I don't know how to film this. I don't know how to do it as a build, because it's so complex. There's so much to it. It's going to go on forever, is this build. I mean, I don't know how you could possibly do this as a one video build and do the model justice. It wouldn't justify doing it personally. So I'm going to have to do it as multiple builds, like I've started doing recently, and just plod my way through each stage and then cut it off at each stage. So we're going to start off where you always start off, isn't it, basically? On the cockpit. I think it's basically you start off on the cockpit and then the engines and stuff like that. So I'll be back when I get my head around where to start on this thing. So it's not a big aeroplane either. It's not a big plane. I'll take a really manual so you can tell. You can build it in. That's obviously the bottom of the airplane, and that's the top of it. It's in like two halves, if you like. Colour scheme wise, you can build it in various countries. You get lots of choice. There's not a right lot of difference. I'll try and get the right way up. That's an English version. I'm not going to show all of them, but basically there's English, Italian and American, various American colour schemes. Some of the Americans have got a little bit of colour on them, because this is a very grey aeroplane, and it's just shades of grey really. So it has got some colour on it. For some reason it shows one of the colour schemes in a lot bigger picture, like this one and this one. And that's the one I quite fancy doing, because it has got the most colour on it. It's got bits of red and stuff like that. So at the moment, I certainly don't have to decide on colour schemes at the moment, because the basic aircraft is all painted the same really, from what I can gather. But it has got some splashes of red on there, which I quite like. So let's get cracking with it. Stage 1. Back in a bit. Right, first thing I need to do is just take the model off the sprue that's holding it in place, which I'm not going to film because it's just dull in it. So I'm going to take that off the sprue and do the same with the bottom of the aircraft. One thing you will notice almost immediately about this airplane is it doesn't have any panel lines on it. Completely smooth, which I suppose that's how it's supposed to be, isn't it, to make it stealthy and all that business. But yeah, there's no panel lines. It has raised detail, but there's no lines. It's smooth as a baby's bum. It's like it's not made out of, I don't know what they make these. It's all composites, I suppose, isn't it? I can see it's going to be a bit of a masking nightmare. But anyway, we're back when I've got them off the sprue. Okay, these are the major components of the fuselage, if you like. It's an unusual looking thing. It really is. It's like a spaceship. It fits perfectly. Everything about this thing so far, well, it's early days in it, but I'm very confident that it will be the case throughout the whole build. It's perfect. It fits just like a glove. But I'm quite surprised how small it is. I mean, I just got trying to put it in game perspective. This is an FX Jaguar. It's when you look at the two aeroplanes, you can see the developments in generations of aircraft. Different world, isn't it? I mean, this is like futuristic. I'm not saying it's a good airplane, because it's very much a very controversial aircraft. But yeah, it's not a big airplane, and the box that comes in is enormous. But it has got an awful lot of parts in it. So I think it pays to just take it apart and get the bits together to get familiarise yourself with the shape of it, because it's a very unusual sort of thing. It's all, everything about this airplane, the interesting parts, is inside it. It's not on the outside of it, it's inside it. So you got a very complex weapons bay, complex engine arrangement going on at the back here. So it's got lots of detail. It's plain colours, but it's got lots of detail. But it's all hidden inside the airplane. So the bottom of the airplane is probably, like a lot of jets nowadays, is more interesting than the top. So let's crack on with it. So we'll get on with the next stage. Okay, this is the top half of the fuselage. The first thing you need to do is drill some holes just here. This is for fitting the RCS radar cross-section enhancers. Basically 2 blobs of plastic that fit on top of there. So I have to drill some holes in there, fit those on there. After that, it's painting almost immediately. You have to pick out detail on, so I have to paint black inside that area there. You've got to paint, I'm just looking at the thing, you've got to paint inside here white, I think. You've got to paint a silver rim around that engine duct, and you've got to paint that bit black, and you've got to paint around the cockpit black. So basically what I'm going to do is just prime this unit, might as well. So you can't over prime it really, just a gentle coat of primer on the whole thing, and then we can start from there. Drill the holes first though. Okay, I've started laying down some colours, not much colour. Basically I've primed the bits that need to be primed in just Mr. Colour, grey. I've started putting down the white bits that need to be done. So you've got the intake area here, and then the what do they call that bit? What do they call that part, to be fair? Anyway, it's the engine bits, and it's calling it for white. But inside that grill there, there's a fan on the other side of that. The edge of it, the rim of that circle, is supposed to be silver, flat aluminium or whatever, and then this grill bit here is basically semi-gloss black. So I've got to mask that edge in silver and then paint that bit black in the middle. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a giggle, is that? I think this model is going to be like that. It's just one of these a lot of masking tape involved, I think, but I've painted white inside that cockpit area. You can't see much of that in a minute. So yeah, it's just a case of letting that dry. I've been using, for the white, I'm using LP2, which is just flat white. Beautiful paint, really nice. There's a lot of colour call outs. It's not very clear as to what colours the main colour is. You've got to mix this colour. It's a mix of various colours. So it's just different shades of grey. And I thought originally it was going to be quite boring, but it's not really. But how I'm going to paint this model, I think, is just very, very clean to start with. And then I'll start adding weather in afterwards, perhaps. I don't know. I'll see how it looks. But yeah, it's like painting a spaceship. It's that bright and it just looks like a spaceship. It's nothing like a Cold War jet, is it? It's very, very modern indeed. I'm going to mask that edge by masking it from that side and then painting it from underneath. So I'm just hoping that will do what it needs to do. So let's have a quick look. It's just a simple bit of masking really, but it's kind of an important bit. I just went a bit mad on the masking, didn't want to get any overspray on anything. There we go. I can hardly tell, but it's definitely silver now, not white. So the next bit is to mask off the edges and then paint that bit black in the middle. So that's the next job. Okay, masked up for the black. A lot of work in it just to paint a little tiny bit, but there you go. That's how it goes. Okay, that's the this arrangement painted up now. So it's got three colours on that, silver, black and the white around the edges. I've also painted up the fan that goes the other side of it. It just locates on these pins. There's two little tiny pins there, and there's two there, or four there actually. They'll only go one way around anyway, so it basically fits there. So that just needs gluing in place. And on the other side it looks like that. It looks pretty effective, does that? That's just been painted silver and a bit of I've just added a bit of panel liner just to give it a bit of definition, so I'll fit that next. Right, I've ordered some little bits of aftermarket for this. I've ordered an instrument panel, an Edward one, so I'm not doing the cockpit just yet. So I've switched on to looking at the rather impressive weapons bay. Now it's a major part of this aeroplane because it's got an internal weapons bay, as everybody probably knows, and there's a lot of detail inside it. And how I approach this, I'm not sure yet, because I mean this traditional approach would, like most people probably do, is just paint it all white and then pick all the detail out and then just throw a lot of panel liner in there, which is alright, but it's, when you look at these, I've looked at quite a few pictures of modern jets now, and they're all like clinically clean white inside. They're not that dirty at all. I mean, I watched a thing on the news recently where they were doing the bombing, the B-2 bomber, and they featured a B-2 bomber and it showed it being prepped up and clean, and they wash inside these things. They clean everything's immaculate, so they're not really I'm a bit loath to kind of make it look dirty because they're not really that bad. I mean, obviously if you got close up to the thing you'd probably see some dirt, but generally speaking they look like a spaceship. They're clean, they're very, very white. There's no dirt and grime and stuff on these things. Correct me if you can find some that do look dirty and grimy, but I don't think even if there are some out there that are dirty and grimy, there's plenty that aren't, if you like. And I think it does look quite nice presented in a clean sort of way, so I don't want to rely on just chucking a lot of panel liner on to define all the little details, because that's cheating for me. So it calls for everything, just about everything inside this thing to be white. So what I've chosen for the white, I'm using just a white primer, like a primer, and then I'm using LP2, which is flat white, and this is fantastic paint. It dries nearly matte, but it's got a tiny bit of a satin feel to it, but it dries as tough as nails, so you can put panel liner on it and it won't bleed and it won't burn, it won't soak into it. so it's quite a tough base for adding more detail to it. So that's a coat of primer at the moment. That's had primer and LP2 sorry on it. So that's alright. So you can hardly see that part really when it's flipped over like this. You can hardly see anything in that part at all. And then you've got this is part of the undercarriage bays and stuff. And what it shows on the instructions is most of these lines, a lot of lines are white still, but a lot of them are black. And they've got little yellow hold down, well, little straps on there. And I've got to say, I did actually do this. I did half of it and I didn't like it. I mean, it looks alright, but I didn't like the grubbiness of it that I did. So I've stripped it all back and I repainted it again. But it calls for a lot of these little black lines to be painted. Obviously it's quite a tricky job. And then some of the boxes are picked out in either black or I think there are some silver ones, and there are some silver ones that you can paint and then put on, which is a lot easier to do. So I'm working on how to paint it for the best really. Now bear in mind it has got ordnance in this thing. It's got, I'm going to put, I think there's two Sparrow missiles. M9s I think, or M7s or whatever they are. And then you got some bombs in there. So it does, some of it is covered up by the actual weapons as well. So there's no point going too mad if you're going to cover some of it up. But I don't really know until I start trying to get them in, and there's a lot of work putting them in as well because there's a lot of attachment points and stuff like that. As I say, it's a very, very prominent part of the model is this. This and the engine at the back, a very dominant part. So there's lots of bits to fit. There's this bulkhead that goes in there like that, and then there's two bulkheads at the sides. There's one there. Get the right way up. Where does it go? I think it goes in off camera. It's always easy off camera, isn't it? That one fits in there like that. And there's loads of other bits as well. There's loads of pipe work and things, but you can paint most of those first because they've got some detail on them that need picking out. So that bit goes in. Honestly, it does go in there. Goes in there. I'm going to paint those separately because there's some detail on that bit that needs picking out, and I can't get to that pipe work once I've glued those in. I have glued a couple of front pieces in there that don't stop me doing anything. So I'll be back when I've got a bit more of a plan. Okay, I'm just working on the weapons bit again. This is these little. There's a box there. There's one there, and there's one under this tape here, and they're black. I thought I'd try and paint them by masking them. Quite small. This is my fingernail. Thought I'd give it a shot. I saw this thing on YouTube. It was a model show, and it was showing people's models and stuff like that. And the guy that won the model shop, which I'd never into by the way, I'm not interested, but his advice was to use your airbrush for everything. I thought that was great advice. However, I don't know how you airbrush all these little lines and wires and stuff like that, but hey, at least I can airbrush that little bit there. So I'll give that a shot. I'm going to do all three individually, so it's easier. Still be masking tape all over the place. Okay, kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I got carried away painting it, forgot to film it. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that result. Actually, goes that way around. You just follow the instructions from the colours. Basically, all the wires are black, and then there's some little yellow picks. There's little tiny bits of red accents here and there. Not much. I think there's two. Little yellow dots and stuff. So that's the basic weapons bit painted, but now it keeps going. It jumps to another step where you build the engine unit at the back end, but I'm not doing that yet, so I'm going to keep doing this bit. I fitted that bulkhead there, but there's quite a lot of pipe work, and I fitted that bearer there and one on the other side, so there's one there, there's one on the other side as well. So I've got some other pipe work to put in, so there's one there, and then there's this one here that needs painted up quite a lot. Some little units at the front, again they're different colours, so yeah, we're getting there, but there's still quite a lot of pipe work, and then it goes on again. Sorry, I'm jumping pages. There's yet another pipe to go in that's got lots of paint, different colours on it again. Some little side panels going to these little recessed pieces here that are silver. So there's lots of little ancillary bits that add on there, and then you have to fit in the it's the magnet arrangement for the mounting. That goes on the other side. So there's a little bracket there, and you fit a magnet which I've already done that, actually fit a magnet into that part there. It's like, you know, see it shiny a bit. There's a magnet in that bit there, so it's got quite a sophisticated little stand mount on it. So I just keep plodding away fitting all the little pipework stuff really, and mainly the pipework, you basically spray it white to start with and then just pick out all of the bits. At least I can mask this quite well. But it's very impressive moulding, very, very impressive thing. I mean, it's such a dominant, as I've said this a lot already, probably, the dominant part of the model. So it needs doing right, does this bit. It'll look fantastic when it's finished. I'm really impressed with this kit. Absolutely amazing kit. The detail in there is phenomenal. And it never ends, and it's not done by any means yet. So I'll get all of the bits out and I'll get them painted up, and I'll be back. And once you've got that bit built, this bay built, you can fit it into here. So when it goes in there, obviously it just pops in there. It has some little brackets at the back, but I broke them off because I repainted this. I stripped it and I repainted it. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, it fits in there lovely, and it looks fantastic, doesn't it? Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. What I am nervous about though is the masking situation when it's painted up like this. I don't want to start putting paint all over this bit. So I am seriously considering painting around that area before I put this in, because this kit fits so well. I mean, you can always touch it up afterwards, but it fits so well that I reckon I can paint quite a bit of it in two halves and then join them afterwards, and if necessary I can just then tickle up the edges and stuff. I don't want to start masking. I mean, it's going to have to be masked anyway, because every opening's got like a lip round it, and all the lips are white, so I'll have to mask inside that anyway. But it's a big hole to mask, is that? So I don't want to do it. So anyway, I'll be back when I've got some pipework paint masked up anyway. Right, I've painted up all the little ancillary pipework parts. I've fitted one of them, which is this little pipe here, because it's got no, doesn't have any other colours on it, so that could go in there. Everything else seems to have masking on it, and it's combinations of silver, red and yellow basically. So I'm going to mask those and get those painted up. I'll be back. Okay, I've got all the pieces painted up. I've already put that piece in there. This piece goes just here. I don't know where it goes, but it's always different when you're on camera. There we go. And then the next piece. So you're kind of connecting pipes through bulkheads basically. I've already put some super glue on the actual part, so it's going to bond. And now we've got this large pipe that goes right across the whole thing basically. There we go, just fits that. That's the side of that part of the weapons bay done. And these the bits on the top that I've already fitted there, you don't see those, but there must be for the gate, for the doors, or for some part of the weapon stores or something. But they are completely covered up once they're in the fuselage. Let's add in some more super glue here for the other parts. Everything fits perfect. I pretty much use super glue all the time for this sort of thing now.
There we go. So we need the metal covers putting on there. And there's a couple of pieces at the front as well that basically needs painting silver. So once it's all painted up, I'm going to give it a coat of flat varnish. Not flat, semi-gloss. Okay, I'm just fitting these 5 silver components. I think there's 5. Yeah, 4 actually. I'm using a cocktail stick with a bit of white tack stuck to the end of it just to pick them up. Works quite well. Again, using super glue to stick them on. Again, they fit in there just perfect. Let's get the last one to do. There we go. Just got the 2 front pieces to put on there. No idea what they are. Silver things. But the part of the mounting is covered up by the fuselage top actually, or fuselage bottom if you like. So we can use some extra thin on that to glue those in. There we go. That's the weapons bay just about completed now. Just going to put some extra thin varnish on the top of that, extra thin varnish, semi-gloss varnish on there, just to seal it all in. Okay, I'm calling that done at this point. Very enjoyable piece of the model to build this. Really, really nice. I've kept it as clean as I can while still trying to add a bit of definition to the lines and stuff. I think I'm quite happy with that. In fact, I'm very, very happy with that. I think it's come out really well. Colour call outs on it. The reds and the yellow, it's just any red and yellow that you think brush is okay because it's all brush painted. So I've just used what I recommend in the kit, I suppose, but it doesn't have to be that. So we've got XF3 yellow, flat yellow, and XF3 flat red. I did use some Vallejo Model Air, which you're supposed to airbrush that, but I brush painted it, it's fine. For the black lines I used some Airfix or Hub Roll acrylic, which is awful to paint with normally, but it's fine for brush painting. It's very, very similar to this really. It behaves in a very similar way if you thin it a bit, so that worked out quite well because I didn't have any of this in black, of course. Primer, I've used Mr. Surfacer White. I have it in a different jar because I just do so I can thin it. For the silver, I don't want much silver on it, I just use LP70. For the white, I use LP4 flat white. Absolutely fantastic. Any of these lacquer paints, if you thin them appropriately, it's just 50-50 to start with. Fantastic. I mean, it just goes down so well. And finished it off with a coat of semi-gloss clear LP24. Again, fantastic paint. And that's it. So I'm going to conclude this part of the video at this point, I think. We'll move on next to the
well, getting this into the fuselage, getting the cockpit into the fuselage, and the landing gear and everything on the front end and stuff. And it also includes the rear engine assembly that goes in there as well, so it's quite a lot of work to do before you can even join the fuselage halves together. So thanks for watching.